This drawing was done by a kid named Pete. Here's the story behind it. Pete was an ordinary boy with an extraordinary obsession. Every day, he would retreat to his small, dimly lit room, armed with an assortment of pencils and a worn sketchbook. He drew the same picture over and over again, as if trying to unlock a door to his distant memories. The scene he drew was fragmented and hazy, a chaotic jumble of emotions and sensations. In it, there was a big man, menacing and tall, holding a gleaming knife. Pete remembered the knife, the cold steel, the glint of malevolence, but he couldn't recall much else. His early childhood memories were like faded photographs, half-remembered and elusive. What he did remember was the feeling,
Hey Pete,
the fear,
this won't take long.
the terror, the pain.
This shouldn't hurt, Pete.
It was etched into his mind, a haunting echo of a past he couldn't quite grasp. The drawing was his way of confronting that lingering trauma, an attempt to make sense of the fragments that haunted him. Pete would sit for hours, his fingers smudging the paper as he sketched the man with the knife. He felt as though he were inside his own head, lost in a never-ending loop of memories and emotions. The room would grow dark around him, but he couldn't tear himself away from the drawing. The fierce laughter haunted him the most. It echoed in his mind like a cruel taunt, a reminder of something unspeakable. Pete would sometimes find himself mimicking the laughter, his own voice mingling with the spectral echoes in his head. One evening, as Pete lost himself in his drawing once again, he heard a knock at his door. It was a sound that pierced through the fog of his obsession, pulling him back to reality. He blinked, his hand still clutching the pencil, and slowly rose from his chair. The knocking persisted, insistent and demanding. Pete's heart raced as he approached the door, his palms sweaty and trembling. He had isolated himself from the world, and the thought of a visitor was almost inconceivable. He hesitated for a moment, then slowly turned the doorknob. As he swung the door open, his breath caught in his throat. Standing before him was a man, a big man, just like in his drawings. The man's eyes were cold and calculating, and in his hand, he held the knife. Pete's heart pounded in his chest as he stared at the glinting blade. For a moment, they stood there, locked in a silent tableau of fear and recognition. The man's lips curled into a sinister smile, and Pete felt a chill run down his spine. He couldn't move, couldn't speak. It was as though he had been transported back to that long-forgotten night. And then the man spoke, his voice a cruel whisper that sent shivers down Pete's spine.
You remember, don't you, Pete?
He said, his words dripping with malice. Pete's mind raced, his memories a chaotic whirlwind. The laughter, the pain, the knife, it all came rushing back. He couldn't deny it any longer. He remembered. As the man took a step closer, Pete's instincts kicked in. He slammed the door shut and locked it, his heart pounding like a drum. He stumbled back, his breath raged, his mind a maelstrom of fear and confusion. But when he turned to face the room, he saw it. The same drawing he had been obsessively sketching for years. The man with the knife. Except now, the man in the drawing was no longer just an image on paper. Pete's hand trembled as he watched the man emerge from his drawing, his form shifting and solidifying. The man with the knife was no longer a memory or a drawing. He was real, and he was here. Pete's heart raced as he realized the truth. he had summoned the man from his past, the embodiment of his darkest fears. The man raised the gleaming knife, his laughter echoing in the room, and Pete knew that the echoes of his obsession had finally caught up with him. The room grew dark, and Pete's screams blended with the laughter as the man approached. The knife poised to plunge into the depths of his memories once more.